You're listening to Built to Convert, the podcast where growth-minded marketers, founders, and creators come to level up. No hype, no guesswork, just bold insights that drive results. Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome to Built to Convert, the podcast where we break down how strategy, analytics, and execution come together to drive real growth. I'm your host, Tyler Lane, founder of Session Interactive. Today, we'll be digging into paid media side of the equation with someone who's been in the trenches for a long time across agencies, platforms, and now a founder of scaling e-commerce brands through Google and Meta. This episode is brought to you by Session Interactive. We're a performance marketing agency that helps brands grow through SEO, paid search, paid media, analytics, and conversion optimization. We work across industries, partnering with marketing teams and founders who care about efficiency, clarity, and measurable outcomes. If your growth strategy feels fragmented or your channels aren't working together, this is where we come in. Learn more at sessioninteractive.com. All right, guys, my guest today is Brian Lasonde, founder and CEO of PPC Boost, an agency focused on helping e-commerce brands scale profitability through Google and Meta ads. Brian's been in digital marketing for well over a decade plus, let's be clear, including time at an agency we didn't overlap directly, but we shared some previous experience with at Location 3 here in Denver and many other agencies before launching PPC Boost about 4+ years ago. Today, he works primarily with Shopify-based brands, doing $1 million to $10 million top line in revenue, helping them structure and discipline in their paid media focus, an increasingly noisy and automated landscape. Brian, mouthful there, but great stuff, man. Good to see you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I know we've been talking about this for a while, so I'm glad we're making it happen.
Yeah, Brian, it's been really cool just to see your career trajectory. I know you and I started in similar years, if you will, and worked our way in a variety of different agencies, and then ultimately ended up starting and creating our own businesses. Let's talk about that a little bit in terms of what you've been up to over the last few years. I know you were at a couple agencies prior to starting PPC Boost, and I guess talk to a bit about that and what really pushed you to start your own thing versus continuing within the agency world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I won't go all the way back to when I started in the industry. I don't think we probably don't have enough time for that. Yeah. It always makes me feel really old. But I think one thing that we share in common too is like a background in SEO. Even though I don't do much SEO now, that is how I got started in the industry initially. And then for me, there kind of came this point where I got way more interested in paid media, specifically Google Ads. I used to be an SEO nerd. I'm coming back around now a little bit with all the cool AI stuff happening. But that was the big shift for me in my career, was going from SEO to paid search. And at the time, I had 7-8 years experience SEO. So I took a huge pay cut to go learn paid search. And then I worked at a couple agencies. One was more e-com focused, one was more B2B, lead gen. So as I built up that paid media experience, I got really into the e-commerce side of things. So even though I specialize in paid media, specifically Google Ads, Meta ads, I loved the whole e-com brand ecosystem. I liked all the channels, like just the email marketing, affiliate marketing, conversion rate optimization, obviously SEO, paid media. I liked that application within e-commerce more so than within B2B lead gen, longer cycles, right? It's like a dopamine hit. You're like, okay, they made that purchase tonight. Sweet. Totally. I can measure the return, on that right now. And so I got some really good experience at some paid media agencies. Most of them were kind of specialty paid media shops too. So not your kind of full service where they're building websites and everything, but really we're focused just on Google Ads. As Meta ads became huge too, a lot of these paid media shops made sure they were really good at that. And then in terms of wanting to start my own company, so it's been about 4.5 years now since I started PPC Boost. Initially, it was just building up clients on the side. I think that's a common story for a lot of founders is, I've got my day job and I've got my night job. Eventually the night job kind of like starts to making more money than the day job. That's the ideal scenario.
Sure.
And yeah, I had actually like the first big client I had gotten on the side was somebody who had gone. We had talked, like we got along. He like it sounded like he wanted to go with me, and then he went with a big agency. That had 80 employees, really well known in the industry. So I was like a little bit, sad, and I was like, okay, whatever. I've still got a few small guys on the side. I still got my day job, and I checked in with him. I think a month or 2 months after this big agency engagement had started, and he's like, oh my God, you could not have reached out at a better time. I can't stand these guys. He's like, I have 5 points of contact. He's like, he's just engaged for Google Ads management, but he had, I think, a coordinator, like an account director, an account manager. He had a feed specialist. So he had like 5 points of contact at this big agency, right? And the performance wasn't good. So it was actually at that point that he was like, you know what? Like, let's make this switch. Like, even though we just got onboarded on Feedonomics and everything, and I happened to be an expert at Feedonomics and had a relationship with them, I was like, look, I can do everything for you. We can make this switch. And that's really how it, like, that was the first big win. Still a client with us today, by the way, up in Vermont too. I know we're both from New England area. So it's a good New England client. And, yeah, man, that was really the first one that kind of kicked it off. And, why I wanted to start my own consultancy agency was just really having freedom. I think that's like what I'm always seeking is freedom. I know there's quotes out there about like entrepreneurs wanting like more time, but then you end up just being like way busier than ever. But the freedom of being able to like decide who you work with, who you hire, right? Like, that was a big thing that was frustrating at previous agencies, where it's a toxic client, but the CEO's like, it doesn't matter, just make them happy. I don't care. Like, and you really have no say, there. So, obviously, as you mentioned, I mean, I'd worked at agencies in the past, some full service, some in an SEO role, some in a paid media role. Then just eventually kind of like enough of those bad or mediocre to bad experiences, I think, led me to really starting my own thing down the road. Yeah.
Ryan, it's a couple of things there that stand out. I think I remember when you made that pivot from SEO to paid, and I remember thinking like, wow, like that takes some guts, takes some balls. Right? It really does, because you had some notoriety and quite a bit of experience, as you mentioned, and then you mentioned you took a pay cut. So I think that's just a testament to where you saw things going and where your kind of passion lies. But I think that's just a great example for people that are maybe intimidated to learn or put their eggs all in one basket in terms of a channel. But you did it, and there's it's never too late, if you will, right, to do that. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Hearing that, and I totally identify too with we're industry agnostic for sure, but we definitely have some target verticals, and the immediate gratification coming out of e-commerce is addicting, especially with ads. So I totally understand that. So shout out to you and your ability to do that, and any business that lasts over 1 to 2 years is impressive in my mind. So 4 years is something to be really proud of. Let's talk a little bit about kind of some of the I love too is, okay, you landed a large client. That was the core indicator. Like, okay, I'm good. All right, let's really formalize this a bit more. Yeah. What are some of those early mistakes that you made? Because I think I've made all of them. And shout out to Jim Heinbrich, who leads the SEO meetup here in Denver. And I remember talking to him in terms of his Hyperdog Media, his company, and he said the same thing when I first started. He's like, talk to me anytime you want. I've made all the mistakes. And I'm like, okay, sweet. And then we lamented about that years later. It was like, oh, we probably made similar mistakes. Probably should have chatted before we did that. Talk to me about some maybe the mistakes that you made and some of the learning experiences you had when you first started the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I've talked with Jim as well.
Yeah,
And
nice.
yeah, brilliant guy.
Great
Yeah,
guy.
definitely a lot of good thoughts on the industry.
Totally.
I wish I had talked to him back in the day too. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one is trying to do everything yourself. Without thinking you need to have like full-time employees right away.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be that. I didn't even know like what a virtual assistant was when I started this, right? I think that's one thing that I wish I had leveraged a little bit earlier on, where they can help with some of the things like, invoicing admin, sales admin type stuff, maybe even some minor account work type stuff, like identifying negative keywords and things like that. I think there was that piece, but then there was also I have my day job and then I have this big client, so I'm getting emails all day long, right?
Yeah.
And I'm the one responding to them. So there was a moment early on where I was like, oh man, I'm like, this is not like what I want. I'm, incredibly busy, and sometimes even if clients are friendly, they're needy, right? And so you might get 7, 8, 9 emails in a day, especially if you write back to them right away. And so I remember this moment actually vividly because I was over at the WeWork down in the Highlands, and I was just like stressed, like super stressed out, with trying to respond. And I was thinking, I was like, is this even what I want, right? And then really, as like for a lot of entrepreneurs, realize the solution is hiring, good talent, right? And then that's essentially what I did as soon as I could, right? A couple of months in, somebody we had worked with together at a previous agency, he had actually gone off. I won't say the name of this agency, but they're one of those big shops, and they do terrible work. And he was incredibly stressed out there. And I think he was only there for a few months, and so basically, I was like, dude, do you want to come like work with me? Like, I basically had him doing some contract work already to help me with that workload, right? So like, I know some entrepreneurs take years to hire somebody. I definitely was like, okay, no, let's do this fairly soon, even if it's in a contract route. So bringing him on, was huge. Essentially, like first full-time employee. But I wish I had done it even sooner. And then I guess tied into that, I wish I had known kind of about VAs, because I think that could have also helped a lot of other different parts of my business just early on.
Crucial component. I think that was a lesson is that I learned kind of much later than you did. So impressive that you had just the wherewithal and awareness to get that going. I think, especially as a solopreneur and even where you're at now, but quality is all you have at the end of the day, right? And your reputation too, Brian. And it's not like you're only working on Denver-based companies, but the word gets out pretty quick that, hey, Brian's slipping or it's not great. That doesn't bode well for the long-term sustainable future that you likely want with this business. So really important there. It brings to mind Dan Martell. I don't know if you knew who that is, but he
Familiar.
Yeah, he's a kind of a personality, a content creator. He wrote a book called Buy Back Your Time. And he is a really strong advocate to those mundane remedial tasks, to get those going. A lot of founders like ourselves are like, why would I need an assistant or, a VA to do these things? I can do it. I can do it faster. It's like, that's the shallow, like that's the closed-minded mindset, if you will, that is really, will hinder progression. So shout out to you and ability to do that. Hey, let's switch gears a little bit. Just in terms of e-commerce specifically, obviously the landscape is wild right now. LLMs are the hot thing that's going on. Research cycles are changing. People are still getting used to them. It's not like that's the only tool, despite what your LinkedIn feed says, that everyone's only utilizing LLM and Google is dead. Let's be clear. What are you seeing in kind of a shift in your performance reporting? Are you and your shift in terms of budget allocation from your clients specifically, that they're like, okay, we still recognize that paid is important, but things are changing in terms of traffic is no longer a figurehead. Vanity metrics aren't nearly as important as they once were. Probably never were that important, to be honest. Is it an evolution in terms of your own KPIs, and what excites you and what perhaps intimidates you about this changing landscape?
Yeah, gosh, really good questions there. So many places to take this, right?
Wherever, yeah.
Especially on the, I guess on the verge of this whole announcement from ChatGPT, right? That now everybody on LinkedIn is already a ChatGPT ads expert, exactly. Even though it's not rolled out yet.
No.
On the AI front, I know for the last year, all of our clients have been asking us, "Hey, how do we start appearing in these conversations?" Right?
Yeah.
Since we only focus on paid media, that's really not something that we advise on. So that's where we look to people like you or other SEO partners we work with, right? So in terms of like the shift, almost every one of our clients has been asking about that, has been kind of changing how they write the content on their site. It seems like a lot of people are doing more of this FAQ content, like making sure it is more answering questions, and I have that content on the site. But like I said, that's not an area we focus too much in. But now that ads are being rolled out on ChatGPT, and I'm sure with all the new Google AI iterations, we're going to start seeing that soon too. It's definitely going to become a big piece. But in terms of the kind of the KPI question, for us, what we see is people moving away from platform metrics to either something like a MER, like a marketing efficiency ratio goal. So that's something we work with our clients on. There's tools out there, especially in the ecom paid media industry or just ecom industry, where if you're looking to scale, if you're spending hundreds of thousands a month on Google and Meta and TikTok and Pinterest, right? You can't believe what's in those platforms. I mean, certainly not things like Pinterest and some of those, right?
Wild.
Or you would have like $10 million more money if you just believed everything in there. So that's a big shift we've seen in the last, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, where the savvy ones are using something like a Triple Whale is huge for a Shopify brand. I'd say that's probably the most common these days. Northbeam's another big one. Hyros. I think more in the lead gen space, but Hyros also out there, these kind of third-party attribution tools. And they all have different models. Attribution is one of those things where there's not really a perfect answer. It's just looking, how you use the data. And so with our clients who don't want to invest in one of those quite yet, because they can be quite expensive, we try to get them to shift a little bit more toward, hey, what are your either quarterly, monthly, annual revenue goals? And let's look at that as basically over what your total media spend is. So because then that allows us to get away from, this Facebook ad, which has $50 spend, doesn't have any conversions. Yeah, let's turn it off. That whole getting stuck in the weeds mentality. Because you can take a step back and say, hey, like you told us we want to hit $1 million this month. We're going to spend 200,000 in total media spend. Let's say that's just Google and Facebook ad spend. That's a 5-to-1 MER. There's a couple different ways to look at it. You can look at it as a percentage. You can factor in your management fee, but just easy numbers. It's or blended ROAS. Sometimes people call it that too.
Sure.
And so we really like to get clients to kind of shift their mentality and go back to what the overall goals are, rather than, this happens a lot on audits of it needs to be 3.3. Like ROAS needs to be 3.3, like in Google Ads.
Yeah.
And then that's not even us going down the road of like, how is your conversion tracking set up? What are your kind of like look back windows and all this. And so that's definitely, I'd say, a big trend we see with the savvier advertisers, and the ones that are savvier e-com owners, especially the ones that are going from 7 to 8 figures quickly. And that's like our sweet spot. We freaking love that range. We've worked with people that are up in the 9 figures, and I mean, that's a huge operation. We've worked with people that are just starting out, and those can be tough to get going. But that 7 to 8 figures, I think, is the ones we've seen get there quickly embrace spending, but also having the right measurement in place. Like there's a lighting company that we worked with. Within their first year and a half, we actually got them to about 8 figures, just under 8 figures, and of course that's their product. We're not claiming everything there, but we helped them in terms of the advertising channels. It was Google, Meta, Pinterest, Bing. I'll throw Bing in there. Like, I don't know if Bing is really doing too much.
Shout out. We love Bing.
Well, is it? I don't even know if it's still called Bing anymore, right? Do they still call it Bing?
I don't know.
but Bing's not surprisingly had the least amount of spend allocated to it. But Meta and Google were both in the 6 figures. And that was, they told us, hey, like, they gave us what that MER number was. We had, a sheet that we checked daily because we were so psyched. We're like, okay, as we're ramping spend up, we want to see those daily numbers. So going back to like the dopamine hit, the immediate gratification, you can see that, the owner of this company would update it every day. So I remember just being like excited to check that too, every single day. So I think that's kind of like the big shift we see with savvy advertisers who want to go from 7 to 8 figures relatively quickly.
Yeah, no, that's really good insight. How do you, a concept that's always, obviously we offer paid media as well. And it's really interesting because you work with individuals that have been in the space for so long, they obsess on the platform, right? And it's like, why isn't it performing? And I'd say, overall in a large majority, it's so fixating on the platform and less on the post click. And then also to that is, so how do you bridge the gap and how do you make it known that like, hey, we're pushing traffic. We need to make sure this site is actually set up to convert. And then other component there is, what are some of these external factors that you deal with? I mean, with anyone, right? If you're signing an SEO scope or a paid media scope or whatever it may be, channel, there's going to be a ton of external factors that you just don't have awareness of around traditional media and other digital channels and other organic related insights that you just don't have buy into or influence on necessarily. How do you deal with that, and how do you try to maybe give some influence and make sure there's consistent messaging? So I'm curious, two-parter there.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the first question, just on kind of the post-click experience, typically it's something where we would recommend working with like a conversion rate optimization agency, specialist, consultant on that. But it's tough because you need to be spending a good amount to be able to run tests. So if somebody who is, spending $5,000 a month, even $50,000 a month, and they want to do conversion rate optimization or they want to influence, it's like I can send through some best practices. Yeah. I mean, we have enough kind of case studies and best practices that we've seen. It's just not something that we offer. And I'm struggling to come up with a good answer here because actually it is a big gap that happens where, we drive the traffic, and then if the site sucks, how much of that is on us versus them? I mean, none of it's on us really, but it's on us to make recommendations to them, right? Sure. And that's usually where we say, look, like everybody says that they do CRO too, but you really need somebody who really knows it inside and out. And then so we'll make that recommendation to their team, because usually internally they just don't have the resources, right? Like, or they don't have the know-how, to actually run those tests themselves. So sadly, we don't have as much influence on the post-click experience, unless we're doing the landing pages, right? Sure. And I think that's one piece where kind of another trend I'm seeing just from the creative perspective. So for managing Facebook campaigns, the agency's doing the creative themselves versus the brands doing them.
Sure.
Because we're in e-commerce, we're not quite, we're not exclusively e-commerce, but we don't do maybe as much landing page creation, design, optimization as other agencies that specialize more in like lead gen would.
Yeah.
Because it's e-commerce, it's product pages, it's category pages most of the time where people are landing, and that's just how the person's site is designed. So we'll make recommendations. I mean, we'll mock up the product page, and we'll even go through and do some tests. I've had some people before, like just friends of mine who aren't even in the industry, and just kind of tell them like, hey, go through the site, do these tasks. Let me know like where the roadblocks are. I think that's maybe one good place to start. And like, yeah, you can send best practices, and that's fine, but starting with that kind of user testing to see, like, I might think this design looks better, you might think this one looks better, but let's have someone go in there and tell them, hey, go buy these 2 pairs of socks, buy these pants, use this code, record it, and then see kind of where those issues are that they're running into. That's usually like the place I recommend starting at. And I wish I had more to say on that, because it really is such a big a big gap in the industry, I'd say.
Yeah, it's tough. It's totally, and I think that's what you're going to continue to experience that, especially with the businesses that you're targeting. They have limitations in terms of what they can implement, or hey, our design team is full up, or a development partner has a ton on their plate, and we can't prioritize that right now, unfortunately. Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right. At least you can do is at least present that and say, like, we believe that this would essentially help your campaigns over time.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing that like right now. If we think about creative, like performance creative, like meta ads, where kind of similar experience, where it's like if you're not controlling that, and the campaigns aren't performing, it's like, well, let us do the creative.
Yeah,
and we're seeing this where these brands, I mean, people internally are so busy, so overworked that like two static ads takes a month to get created.
I know.
And
you're looking for a rotation fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and these are people who are spending 6 figures, on Facebook ads a month, right? And it's not really a fault of the people that are producing it. It's more of like a process, a fault of the process within the company. And so, I think that's an area that we really want to move more towards, where we're producing the creative.
Sure.
And I think as it gets easier to produce creative, and we don't even have to go down the whole AI creative rabbit hole necessarily, because it's all different types. Like we do static ads for our clients. We have that that ability, and it with no AI, and we can get ads same day, right? And I think with landing pages too, as that starts to get easier and quicker to create, I hope that like organizations embrace that, right? Instead of fight it. Because we've actually got some that are fighting AI right now. I'm like, good luck.
Yeah, maybe not a stance or something you want to hold on to long term. I think it's a good transition, because I think we could go down like the vibe coding.
Yeah.
You go down that, image generation, pros and cons of that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take it a little bit different approach here, just in terms of how you are embracing AI as it relates to maybe workflow tools, or building out custom GPTs or notebook LMs. I'm curious what you're doing there, and give me all the details so I can just copy it and run it.
Absolutely. No, and I love talking about this. I realized that on the 2-parter, I skipped the second part of the previous question.
No worries. Yeah.
But I know you were asking about just, how we account for like influence on if there's like a TV campaign or things like that. And honestly, I probably skipped it because I don't have a great answer for that one either. Because a lot of the brands that we're with just aren't there yet. They're newer brands. They usually aren't running TV campaigns. A lot of them are just running Google and Meta.
Yeah,
and that's it. That's like their only source. So yeah, I don't have a great answer on that. But on the AI front, it's funny. I obviously another friend, colleague of ours, Leo, who you've been working with for years. Shout out, Leo.
Okay.
Me and him were having a conversation about AI like last year, like a happy hour, and I I like pose this question of like, what percent of your day are you using AI? Because at the time I was like, yeah, we use it maybe 10%. I don't know. And I forget what number he gave. Maybe it was 80, 60 or something,
Exactly.
His kind of viewpoint being like, no, dude, you have to lean into AI. AI is the future, right?
Sure.
And then about a year later, I changed my tune a little bit.
Yeah.
And we laughed about it because we've talked about this since where, I don't know what I would say now. I mean, it's, but probably something like 30, 40%, where we're utilizing AI. Or I am personally in my personal life, but yeah, where we're exploring it at PPC Boost, it first started out with brainstorming ad copy. So not trying to have it create everything, but just to help us start brainstorming different hooks, different angles. One of the things we like doing is uploading. Let's say we can export from Shopify like 10,000 customer reviews from the website. We then upload that to ChatGPT or your favorite AI model out there, and then start to ask it questions of like, what are the issues people are having, right, with the product, or what do they love about the product, and then working to create creative to address either those problems or to like highlight those benefits, right?
Love it.
Yeah, and that's something we've been doing for a couple years now. So I'd say that's how we started out. We didn't have the mentality of like AI is going to do everything. I still don't have that mentality at all. And so yeah, that's where we started, and then it was custom GPTs for like internal training. So I'll admit, I mean, I'm still a newbie with AI and with custom GPTs, but we've been using one for about the last 3 months or so now, and it's basically like an account manager training GPT. So when somebody new comes into PPC Boost, they can use this custom GPT to really ask any questions about our training resources, our training materials. We have with one of our VAs, we have like 2 calls a week. Those transcripts get uploaded right after the call. We've got all of our SOPs uploaded into that knowledge base. So that's still kind of a new process for us and how we use it. But I've tested it quite a bit, and I've even told like our VA on it of like, hey, yeah, make sure you're using this. Even just like, hey, at what timestamp in that recording did Brian say this or whatever. And so I asked him, like, I was like, be honest, like, is it actually helpful, or is it just like, and he's like, no, it really is like for those kind of situations. Because otherwise it's him going back and going through an hour-long recording,
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's not really that efficient. So I think as we kind of work out the kinks there, automate that a little bit more, we're going to look to do more custom GPTs. I think it was actually Jim, who you referenced earlier, who was showing me some of the custom GPTs he has, and I was like, oh man, I got to step it up. I forget if it was Jim or someone else, but somebody in the Denver area who recently sold his agency was telling me or showing me all this stuff, and I was like, dang, I'm way behind. So those ones, and then yeah, the image generation stuff is fascinating. So. I feel very like this is a controversial topic for sure. When image generation came out like earlier this year with ChatGPT or last year with ChatGPT, I think that was huge, right? Like the people like I know people that have been doing it for years. Like we weren't like way on top of it or anything. But then what we've seen since then is all these other models come out, right? Like Veil, like Midjourney's been around for a while, but starting to see like agencies develop workflows there. It's not just like, hey, ChatGPT, give me an image. It can do it, but it's going to suck. Like it's going to be like AI slop, right? Like that's the thing. Everyone is kind of like, don't just push out AI slop. I mean, even if it's not as atrocious of like 8 fingers on somebody's hand, but if it's just like generic and like doesn't look professional, it's just what's the point, right, of it? And so this is something that we're working on now, especially for e-commerce, where it's like a product shot. Like let's take. I'm trying to think of an example, but I think I actually saw one where they had like it was like a functional mushroom tea type thing. So it's pretty simple, where it's like the little canister type thing. Asking ChatGPT, hey, give me mid-journey prompts to animate this. Or even going back to the brainstorm angle, like help us brainstorm 5 ways that we could feature this adaptogenic mushroom tea. We find one we like, and then we ask ChatGPT to create specifically either for like VEO3, for Midjourney, banana, specifically what that prompt should be.
Looks like. Yeah.
And then there's fine tuning along the way, but like I think the wrong way to do it is just to ask ChatGPT to create an image and run with it. So something we're still refining, and like I see that being part of our creative offering, but not everything. Like I still think there's like I've heard a couple people kind of say the term like trust recession with AI right now, right? So I think it's like you want to position your agency, your company as human first, right? Like that uses AI instead of this AI can replace everything.
Everything, yeah, exactly.
Because that's kind of what people were saying like a year ago. And I don't know, maybe someday in the future, maybe, but I don't like humans still need to be part of it for now. Nope. I hope not. Yeah.
Just the blatant hallucinations and so many other things that can go awry there.
Right.
Love that perspective, Brian. It's really important, and some cool tactics there. Wrapping up here, it's always good to catch up with you and see and just witness the success and the growth that you've been able to achieve personally and obviously through the business, which is awesome. Talk to us a little bit. I know I want to, where can people find you on LinkedIn or website, and also I wanted you to talk quickly about the meetup that you got going on.
Yeah.
In Denver.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of PPC Boost, so anyone who's interested, just ppcboost.com. Actually in the process right now of redesigning the site. So pretty excited. It's been a couple years since we've done that. And definitely plan to put some more content on there in the future. It's always fun to see the iterations of your company site. Like I joke that our first one had like somebody in Denmark made it for like $300 and it had easy animated rocket like going up and down. So yeah, that's the website. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so anyone can look me up, Brian Lasonde on LinkedIn. And then I think most excitingly is the meetup. So Denver Marketers is a meetup that I started here in Denver about 6-7 months ago. So anybody in Denver, Boulder area, definitely check it out. Also going to have a site there soon, denvermarketers.com. But super casual, like monthly meetup that we do, usually at a different brewery or kind of bar, coffee shop type thing. And pretty just chill, no agenda. A lot of people will come out from kind of that PPC background, SEO, copywriting, people from big brands. Like I know Crocs is pretty big out here. So some people who work at Crocs have come out. Some other big brands like people from Visa. And then it's also a good mix of people that are just like, well, probably like freelancers, small agencies, entrepreneurs. So yeah, man, it's been pretty fun so far. I know we were chatting a little bit before we started. But yeah, I'm excited this year to kind of, continue to grow it and just use it as an opportunity to network with the digital marketing and the entrepreneurial crowd in the Denver area.
Yeah, impressive what you've been able to put together with the business, and then the focus on the meetup has been really cool to see too. And we mentioned like quality and reputation, but also community, right? Is really a big piece of what you have at the end of the day. Brian, great to see you, man. Looking forward to catching up soon. Thanks for your time.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, Tyler. Great to see you, man. Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks for listening to Built to Convert. If you're serious about growth, don't just listen. Subscribe, leave a review, and follow us for new episodes that drop straight into your feed. Until next time, keep building.